Right, hello guys, and welcome to the stream. And just letting people know that there's a whole screen, so yeah, it's not me talking over just the image thumbnail. The image is going to come up before the stream, and so I'm excited to talk to you today about these things. So I'm just getting it up on my screen, just as soon as I get used to using technology. And so the first thing that we're going to talk about is a Cineworld potential restructuring. So what's some sort of different potential outcomes of a Cineworld restructure? Let me see if I can get that up for you guys. And live stream notes should be that one. Is that the right one? No, that's the wrong one. Live stream notes. That should be the right one, but one second. That's the one. Okay, here it is for you guys. So the first thing we will be talking about is a Cineworld restructure, then we'll be talking about the Flash trailer, then we'll be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, and if I can remember, we'll be talking about point number 2, which I, for some reason, didn't write in my notes. Hello guys, and welcome to the stream. Right. Sorry about that. Okay, so please, as always, put your questions in the comment section on the side. And if I don't have a chance to answer your questions, always leave them after the video's gone live. If you're watching this later, leave them in the comment section below. But first of all, welcome very much to the stream. I hope that you are looking forward to the topics at hand and you don't mind me just watching a couple of trailers and giving my opinion on those. First, I need to have a little bit of whiskey. So let's have a little bit of whiskey. Oh, sorry, showing the live stream data. So full screen for a minute. A lot of you, what you've noticed is that after the initial bit of news on Monday, the price has settled. This to me does not surprise me. And also we were potentially going to have a meeting. There was the date that was on the bankroll thing. I've always been skeptical. I've gotten very skeptical that they never hit those dates. They always get delayed, or they become they tend to be a lot less exciting than they are hyped up to be. So yeah, let me have a little sip of whiskey here. And so I love that you guys just really enjoy. Let's keep that in the shot, just there. Really glad that you guys enjoy chatting all day in the Discord. I really enjoy your comments. I'm so grateful and enjoy having all of you joining on the stream and everything like that. So cheers, guys. At 1 million shares deep, is there a real chance we could end up with 0? So yes is the answer to that. And so what would 1 million shares be? That's $50,000. So the issue is, what does that mean to you? What percentage of your portfolio are you invested? There is a chance, but if you've been watching this stream, if you've been keeping up with it, we have made a case that I think is strong that is unlikely, especially if you bought in at say 5p. There's a very good chance that you will make a good profit, in my opinion. But yes, there is a chance that it could go to 0. That is why the risk to reward ratio has been set at 5p. You could make several multiples on a very just average outcome. An average outcome out of this would make many multiples at 5p. And so that is why it's a particularly interesting stock. That's why I made this YouTube channel about it. Never mind the fact that I got heavily invested in it, and so I was just sort of following all the events of the stock just to and so I'm very glad that I have an outlet for this information, and it's helped me grow you guys, create this Discord. I think it's made lemonade out of lemons. It's very laggy. Oh, okay. I don't know if there's a lot I can do about that. I can try and move my PC closer to the Wi-Fi. but the power cable will potentially pop out in a second. I'm sorry, but you will have to get used to the fact that this stream can be a little bit laggy. I believe after it's like done all of its compressing, I think it records locally, and I've got a local recording. So if it's awful, I'll set up a local recording later. If it's awful, just watch it later. So let's talk a little bit about a couple Cineworld restructuring potential options to get started. So I have these notes here sent by Monkey. These are Monkey's notes. So anyone that's on the Discord, link to the Discord in the description. These are Monkey's notes. Monkey owns 8 million shares and has been sending like lots of crazy useful information. I'm going to slide it over so I don't have to lean so much. And has shared tons of crazy useful information and specific docket information. And I've really enjoyed chatting with him. He gets very good sort of, he has a good, interesting perspective on details, and he seems to know a lot about different sort of finance terminology. But that being said, you can do so much speculation on a stock. This is my sort of view on it. You can do so much sort of speculation on a stock, but let's just say that a chance encounter between Mookie and Jeff Bezos, or let's say Jeff Bezos is potentially interested in becoming interested in cinema. The way that I see it, investing in a way, the reason that I think there is a large luck component to it is, let's say that debate happens on a day that Jeff Bezos has gone out the night before, or let's say he's woken up feeling great. The fact whether he decides to put an offer that includes stakeholders getting equity, like little details like that can sort of just hang on his personal decision making. So I see people, if you're watching the charts all day, you're not helping Cineworld shares, and so I feel, and I think you're kind of torturing yourself. At least that's how I felt back when I used to follow stocks daily. I do sometimes enjoy checking up on them on days where great news has come out and it's just going up to the sky. Like, of course, who wouldn't want to watch that? But on days where it's crashing and I can't find tangible reasons that it's doing that, I just chalk it up to, there are people out there that sometimes they need money more than they need shares, and so they choose to sell those shares. That's potentially what it could come down to, unless I can find a reason that it's going down. That's all it might be. So the fact is, unless you could financially calculate the likelihood of the person at Amazon who's responsible for putting in a bid to Cineworld, unless you can calculate the financial likelihood of them doing that, watching the charts doesn't help you, because the charts doesn't tell you whether they're going to do that or not. For the record, I think there should be a lot of very interested buyers from that sort of streaming tech space. These are all basically just media companies. Like Amazon's Prime division is just a media company, and all these businesses value themselves on sort of these sort of acquisitions. They are really sort of focused on I don't know if any of you saw the notice that Jeff Bezos put out when Fire Phone stopped working. So basically when they cancelled Fire Phone, and they're like, oh, we'd lost this many billions on Fire Phones, and Fire Phones could have been a really good thing for Amazon, but it just didn't work. It just did, for whatever reason, people didn't want them, and it didn't work. And Jeff Bezos said, we're going to lose more money than this. In the future, we are going to have mistakes bigger than this, but we have to have those mistakes in order to have our successes. We've got to try new things. If we aren't failing, then we aren't actually trying hard enough. We're not being innovative enough. And so, some people really don't want their companies to fail ever. And I think that's really foolish, because I think there is an element to which success requires risk. And so if you aren't taking any risks, then you are very unlikely to have any success. Mookie has 260 million shares. If shareholders get wiped out, will Mookie suffer the same fate? So it's in his best interest to salvage. If he had no shares, Sin would be bankrupt by now. Do you agree? So yes, I do agree that if we didn't have Mookie as CEO, we would be bankrupt by now. I don't think they would have taken on $200 million of credit during the pandemic in order to deal with interest payments and have some breathing space. I can't see a company where the board of directors, who are aren't stakeholders doing something like that. I bet they would have gone into Chapter 11 during COVID if it hadn't have been for Mookie trying to retain equity of his company. And now going through this bankruptcy process, they've done more work than I've seen any other company do during a Chapter 11 bankruptcy process. And also, this is one of the things that concerns me about the idea. Sorry, I'll just move to full screen while I'm talking about this. This is one of the things that concerns me a little bit about View purchasing it, because I know that View went into Chapter 11 bankruptcy, then got bought out. Essentially, a pension company owns View. And that's why, they're not bankrupt. But I really don't like pension companies or banks owning companies. I don't actually think pension companies or banks should own equity in businesses. I think that they should just lend money to businesses, because realistically what pensions should provide is really stable interest, steady interest. What it's for the investing world, it's for index funds to provide that sort of risk element. And I think one of the reasons for this is because obviously pension companies have so much money, they can outbid anyone in the market because they have pools of people's money. It doesn't belong to any one individual, and so they can outbid anyone, obviously. So that pushes the prices of things up to just ridiculous levels. It makes it harder for anyone to actually make a profit off something, even the people that own the pension. And then also they are bad at managing it, or they don't care enough. So how hard is someone working a 9 to 5 at a pension company going to work to retain equity of a business and make that business profitable and reinvest money back into the business? They want to give that money back to the people that they're paying out pensions on. So yeah, I really hope View do not end up being the ones that acquire Cineworld. I think that's unlikely anyway, because I think there will be bigger bidders coming in with that will offer more favourable things to Cineworld. But I think this might come down to, the winning bid could potentially come down to whoever gives existing shareholders, namely Mookie, the most equity of the new company, because then it doesn't rely on a massive cash injection. Any company can get their stake in it for cheaper, but they can offer, say, 20% equity. So the slides that I'm about to do, talking about the sort of restructuring plans, they're all based on quite a pessimistic outlook of what potentially would happen. Even the optimistic outlook in here, I think, is somewhat pessimistic. I mean, the ultimate pessimistic outlook is obviously zero. And so, the fact is, in Chapter 11, you can go to zero without question. However, the fact is also that most companies that go into Chapter 11 bankruptcy have made a litany of errors, whereas I feel Cineworld have made errors that you would like. Every single error they've made is heavily debatable and contestable, and so I don't feel like any of their errors are ones that you could go, aha, look at what a terrible company. Okay, so let's get into this. Move the slide to the side, and this is a little chart made by one of the people on the Discord. I'll probably put this on the Discord later, so long as Monkey's cool with that. I think it'd be weird if he was cool with me sharing it on the stream and not putting it on the Discord. But yeah, so basically what this slide shows, and I'll zoom in a little bit, you've got the Chapter 11 group. For anyone that doesn't know, the Chapter 11 group is the US and UK cinemas. So they're all within this dotted line, and then you've got the Rest of World group, which is down here. Now, if you follow the YouTube channel, our belief, this is not like a fact, but our confident belief is that we now own Rest of World, and that isn't part of the DIP financing. The DIP financing just covers Rest of World. Just covers the Chapter 11 group, which is Regal and Cineworld in the UK and Ireland. And sort of like, if in the event of full liquidation, we still hold ownership of Rest of World. It gets a little bit more complicated because Rest of World does have debt. It's just it owes that debt to the Chapter 11 group. So that's actually in this graph. You can see this line heading back to financial debt here. Rest of World owes debt to the Chapter 11 group, but it doesn't owe debt to the creditors. It doesn't owe debt to the debtor in possession finance group. It owns money to the Chapter 11 group. This is where things get a little bit complicated. But yeah, so you've got Rest of World here, and so you follow this, and you've got basically a potential recovery of 280 to 360 million if we just retained ownership of the Rest of World group. That is what we imagine equity holders could potentially get. The reason this is a full liquidation event, so this is liquidation in order to get cash back to creditors, and in that event there would be a legal dispute, but and this is why you don't really know what anyone would get. I think this is why no one would want it, but in this event creditors would only get 75 to 85% recovery, and that bottom recovery, that 280 to 360 million, it's likely that creditors would go after that, but at the same time that wouldn't push up that 75 to 85%. A hell of a lot might take you to like 90%, 95%, but I don't think they would, in a liquidation event, I don't think they'd get the full whammy, 100% all their money back. And so I definitely think that no one wants this event. And I can't even see this event happening because someone would definitely want to bid on this company. You've already got view in wanting to bid on it. So there's a little bit of extra information here. People can read this when I share it in the Discord. Remember, Discord link in the description. Also, if you want to click the like button above the description and the subscribe button, that would really help me out. I'm close to 200 subscribers, and I need to get 1,000 subscribers in order to, get that monetization and do a bit more of this. So if you're enjoying these videos, that would really help me out. Ooh, how laggy is it? Internet is definitely very slow. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so the next Cineworld optimal case, reorganization, valuation. So if in what Monkey calls this the most optimal case, I mean, in my sense, like the most optimal thing, if you are allowing yourself to daydream and get really, really happy, we've just had another month delay, and during that month, we're going to have Ant-Man, which will be an enormous release. It's the launch of Phase 5, and it's obviously a big thing for the American audience, so Regal. So yeah, you got Ant-Man coming out, and then throughout this year you got Guardians of the Galaxy and also the Flash film, which looks really phenomenal. So is why I'm kind of excited to watch the trailers. I can't wait for next week's live stream where we'll be looking at the box office statistics for Ant-Man. That will be an interesting indicator of what's going on cash flow at the minute. I mean, I believe there is potential for Cineworld to get to a point where it's we can pay the debtor in possession financing, which that would be an absurd situation to get to, probably very absurd because of debt to equity things, to get out of Chapter 11. But what a crazy world that would be for us as shareholders if we got to a point where we were making so much cash that we felt that we could comfortably get out of Chapter 11 without a buyer and without doing debt for equity swap, or maybe it would just be a massive reduction in the debt for equity swap. Maybe we lose a much smaller percentage of what we thought we were going to lose, which creditors would actually like that because they actually want to get that credit. They don't necessarily want equity in the business. So this is the reorganization plan. You got the Chapter 11 group again in the dotted lines, and then you got the Rest of the World group underneath it. And it's just sort of the same information about the fact that the rest of the World group owes money to the Chapter 11 group. And then also one of the potentially appealing things, sort of debating this with Monkey, how favourable this is, but you've obviously got a $4 billion loss on the balance sheet, which if you don't know, it's a hard thing to value, but essentially it means that you can write off 800 million each year from your profits in taxes. So if you're about to be taxed 800 million, you can write that off from your taxes. So essentially, if you go from loss making to profitability, you can start making profits much faster. You can build up cash reserve much quicker when you have these losses. Potentially doesn't work for this. This is what me and Monkey were debating on, but I remember at one point my company was looking potentially to buy a company in Germany, specifically because his company had a loss on his balance sheet of about £1 million or something like that, and it meant that they could project losses, even though they had personally not experienced any loss. They could project losses into the future by purchasing their company. So that company had value because it had losses on the balance sheet. So losses definitely do add value. So it's a weird thing to be able to sort of quantify, but absolutely this pushes the equity value up, which is a good thing for us shareholders. And that leaves the enterprise value at 6.7 billion to 7.5 billion. And so what you'd have is the new co, which is massively deleveraged thanks to a debt to equity swap. and so 3.6 billion debt gone, but that would leave us with 10 to 15% of the company. And this is why I say that all of these are somewhat pessimistic, but they are also in some ways like that would at 5p 10 to 15% equity, we believe would be sort of like a 20p share price. If it was that would be a 4x. Please do your own math on this. I'm a little bit saying stuff like that just to give a bit of context, a bit of flavor to it, because saying 10 to 15% equity doesn't mean a hell of a lot without that sort of just getting where that sits in my brain, where stuff like that. But I haven't done a massive spreadsheet for that. And so the final thing is this is the Cineworld Newco restructure solution. That's the same solution as before. And so this shows how you've got Cineworld common shares, that the investor acquires subsidiaries, and then so you've got either a capital increase, so that's View coming in, giving a bunch of cash, buying a bunch of equity of the business, or you have debt repayment to creditors, or you have debt to equity conversion. Whatever of those three, what you're basically saying is existing shareholders get reduced and a new shareholder comes in that owns the majority of the company, most likely. And then you got Newco common shares and subsidiaries. And so new investor gets 85 to 90% of the business. Old investor gets 10 to 15%, but then also potentially new shares, cash warrants, or 10 to 15%. New shares, cash warrant. There's potentially perks built in for pre-existing shareholders that sort of see us getting additional cash despite having smaller equity in the sort of capital increase or something like that. Potentially, if a bidder wants to somehow purchase the company and give just a little bit extra to shareholders to sort of salten the meal and make it more appetizing. So I think whatever bidder can offer the most to shareholders is going to do well out of this transaction, because obviously the person that they're debating with is Mookie, not creditors. That is the person that they will have to go to debate this. And so creditors haven't just sort of gone, oh, all right, this is one of the reasons that I wouldn't want a pension company owning my stock, is because they would gladly just go, you know what, goodbye CEO. They just throw that person to the side. Right, we're debating this now, and the pension companies will do stupid shit, they'll buy the credit for the business, and then they'll do all sorts of convoluted stuff. Whereas this is just very much we are the shareholders, we're trying to get the most value for shareholders, and we've also got to pay these people that lent us money. Right, I'm going to take a look, see if there's any questions. With the court document today, it said value maximization. Oh, that was the second thing that I wanted to talk about. Yes. So we got this. By the way, I don't know why I put this in there. Little photo of Judge Marvin Isgur. Hello, Marvin. I like him. I think he's a good judge. And then we got the debtors are currently engaged. This is a docket that came out today, I believe. Point 10 was interesting. And I think this was in reference to talking about the people that are putting in bids, because for whatever reason they aren't disclosing their names. So the debtors are currently engaged in an active and ongoing marketing process to locate a strategic or financial buyer of their assets with the assistance of their advisors. The debtors have been in discussion with potential sale parties regarding the value maximization transaction. Due to inherently competitive nature of this process, revealing the identity of potential bidders may chill the marketing process by preventing certain parties from moving forward with negotiations. Due to the inherently competitive nature of this process, revealing the identity of potential bidders may chill the market process by preventing certain parties from moving forward with negotiations. Disclosing the identities of the potential sale parties before a transaction is negotiated could severely hamper the sensitive discussions between the debtors and these counterparties to the detriment of the marketing process and interfere with the debtors' ability to provide the greatest value for the benefit of the estates and all shareholders. That's one of the things that we're like, Brendan, I know that in the Discord you're talking about that's giving you hope. And yeah, I read that and I got the same feeling. It's like, yeah, they are still mentioning us, which I don't follow a lot of Chapter 11 group filings. I typically like to get involved with businesses that have just as much upside potential and no downside risk. But in this particular instance, it's nice to see stakeholders still getting mentioned, and you know, this value maximization transaction, all that language sort of indicates that it's like, yeah, we should be able to get actual value out of this business. Just a sliver of value. Talk earlier, like we're saying, the rest of the world is worth 270 to 300, let's say 300 million. That is 6 times from where we are, because the business is around, it's just over 50 million, but let's say, let's just make it simple, say 6. So 5p times 6, 30? Yeah, so that would be 30p per share. Assuming costs and stuff like that involved, then you take it down to 20p. Just put it in your mind, don't get like, I always put enormous discounts when I'm doing valuations because I assume that I put optimistic statistics in there somewhere. Things never come out to what you hope they would be. You see some sort of big number and then it's like, oh yeah, but this person takes this and this person takes this. It always gets heavily reduced. Oh, that is good whiskey. Right, I think we should watch the Flash trailer. And I think we should watch the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer. And then I think we've had a good evening and I'll leave you to it. Unless there are any questions, then I'll answer questions. So let's go to full screen for a second. Creating this sort of Chrome cam setup. Let's get the Flash up. So, I don't know if any of you have seen that. You probably, like a lot of you are probably keen on trailers and stuff like that. And do we have desktop audio? I hope we do. Yes, we do. Okay, so I'm gonna disappear for a second, and I hope that's okay. And then we take this.
Tell me something. You can go anywhere. Another timeline. Another universe. So why do you want to stay and fight to save this one?
Because this is the world where my mom lives. I'm not gonna lose her again. Time has a pattern that it can't help reliving. Different people, different worlds, drawn to each other like magnets. It's my face. You stole my face.
If you were to go into the past, you have no idea what the consequences can be.
Bruce, I could fix things.
You could also destroy everything.
This can't be happening. I completely broke the universe.
Sorry. We've been waiting for you.
I created a world with no metahumans.
And now there's no one to defend us.
Want some help?
You are?
Yeah. I'm Batman.
If I can't undo what I did, if I can't get back, there might not be a future. What's the play? Batman, what do we do?
We try not to die.
It's not Clark.
My name is Kara.
I'm Barry. We're Barry. Barry, what are you doing? Our kids are gonna want to see this.
I think I actually haven't seen the original Michael Keaton Batman. The reason that I'm actually excited for him is because I think that he's got this sort of deranged look about him. He just has this sort of look like he enjoys crime, he's beating up criminals, and I think that's what Batman's all about. The reason he doesn't kill is because he enjoys beating them up so much, and so that if he allowed himself to kill, he'd be giving himself too much pleasure. And Keaton just has that look about him, like, you're a fucking weirdo, like you're actually a bit of a creep, and that's what Batman should be. Whereas and I think it's a little bit of the script and the filmmaking, but what's his name, the guy from Good Will Hunting, the latest Batman, Ben Affleck, he just has a look like he's bored. And that's what I feel from him, is like nothing surprises him. An alien shows up at his house and he's just like, oh. First of all, he's not aware of this alien. Like, I think it's way cooler when Batman just knows everything going on. But like, everyone knows his identity. Everyone, like, he doesn't have contingency plans to kill everyone. He doesn't know where everyone is. People just show up out of the blue. Like, I think it's bad writing, but also at the same time, he just has this expression on his face like he's having no fun. And I think Batman should enjoy beating the shit out of criminals. That's what he's all about. And so, yeah, and the next thing, let's just have a little look at the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer. Because these have always, like, the first Guardians of the Galaxy film was one of my favorites. The characters are some of my best favorite characters in the MCU. Second Guardians of the Galaxy film, bang average. Totally average. I liked it, but it's an average film. The first one was really, really spot on. A few sort of ruined some nice moments by trying to be too comedy in them, but I can deal with it because I feel like the first Guardians of the Galaxy film got it right. It's like, this is an action comedy, and then we speckled some heartfelt moments in. Whereas some Marvel films are trying to be tragic and like meaningful and deep, and then they just keep on throwing jokes in there. Like, if this is a comedy, do comedy first and then add dramatic moments in. That's how I feel about it. And you can argue with me in the comments. All right. So let's switch back to the trailer screen and
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm Star-Lord. I formed the Guardians. Met a girl, fell in love. That girl died, but then she came back. Came back a total dick.
Oh, please.
He left out some important information, but that is the gist of it.
I get the same old dreams, same time every night. Fall to the ground and I wake up.
My sacred mission is to create the perfect society.
He didn't want to make things perfect. He just hated things the way they are.
I want you all to know that I'm grateful to fight beside my friends.
Incinerate them.
We were always searching for a family
Until we found each other. Are you ready for one last ride?
We'll all fly away together.
into the forever and beautiful sky.
Whoever it was that you were in love with, it sounds more like her.
Her? That's ridiculous.
Do not bring me into this.
Knock it off!
What? Just never noticed how black your eyes were.
They were replaced by my father as a method of torture.
He picked a pretty set.
Okay, so I think it's going to be a good year for cinema. For reasons I talked about, I've done that video, like you see there's a little graph on the thumbnail. I talk about the fact that we are getting back to, I believe, this year I think we'll have the first year over 1,000 films released, but also I see these trailers and I'm hyped. But I do have trust issues from trailers ever since Thor Love and Thunder was probably one of the most hyped up trailers like of the year. I was really excited for that, and it was a bit like, that was such a dud of a film. There's so many issues with it, but I think that was a little bit like Taika Waititi. Like, I think he's to blame for that. I don't have an issue with him as a director because he's done so many good films, and he's just, I think that was a result again of someone taking a big risk and just sort of going with the flow, and I think they just went too far with it, and so it could have been great, could have been a really good idea, it could have been a whole revolutionary thing that changed cinema. It wasn't. And I feel a bit bad for Chris Hemsworth because as a result of that, he's, you know, Thor just hasn't gotten that film yet. Like, great character. He's always got a really good character arc, especially because of Loki, but he's never gotten that film that people will remember him for. That's what I feel like. Right. Okay, guys, that's all from me today. Thank you so much for joining the stream. And let me know if there's anything you want me to go over in these videos, if you anything you want out of these videos. I'm always trying to improve. And so, yeah, thank you very much for joining and have a great day. Goodbye.